Can you tell us a little bit about what you think about the built environment and how you would describe its importance, and maybe what role do project managers play in shaping it through the projects they lead?
When I think of built environment, it's like everything that civilization needs. So it's really the foundation of how we live. Project managers really put the pieces together of the puzzle to make sure it all fits in the end. And that's really an important role, is just making sure that everybody is working together to complete that project.
When you walk into a building, drive across a bridge, or even flip on a light switch, it is easy to forget that every detail around you is carefully planned, managed, and built by teams working together to shape the world we live in. That is the essence of built environment. And project managers, as usual, play a pivotal role in turning those ideas into reality. In this episode, we're joined by Latrice Celio, PERCDD, Principal Electric Engineer at Coffman Engineers. With a career rooted in power and low voltage systems, Latrice brings a unique perspective on how project management influences the spaces we design and build. We'll be talking about the role of project managers in shaping the built environment, and more importantly, how she inspires and prepares the next generation of engineers, and the importance of mentoring succession planning in long-term project success. If you're a project manager, AEC leader, or engineer looking to make a lasting impact on the spaces and systems that define our communities, this conversation will help give you a valuable perspective on how thoughtful leadership truly builds the world around us. And before we jump in to today's episode, I want to tell you about something that's tailor-made for project managers in the AEC industry. It's called AEC PM Connect, and it's the event designed for PMs by PMs who want to level up on how they deliver projects, communicate with teams, and lead with confidence, all through practical, real-world strategies and tools. And here's some exciting news. This year's June AEC PM Connect will also be hosting the winners of the AEC PM Awards, which recognize professionals who lead with purpose and deliver measurable results. Just imagine if someone from your firm was named AEC PM of the Year. That kind of recognition can boost your people, your culture, and your firm's reputation in a big way. The event takes place on June 10th in 2026 at the Forest Gate Country Club in New Jersey, and you can register for that event at aecpmconnect.com. And if you want to nominate someone for the awards, head on over to aecpmawards.com and download the nominations guide before the deadline on February 28th. I'm your host, Fiona Johan, and this is the AEC Project Management Podcast. Let's jump right in. Now it's time for our PM Conversation of the Week with Latrice Celio, PERCDD. Latrice, welcome to the Engineering Project Management Podcast.
Thank you. Very excited to be here.
Thanks so much for joining us. We'd love if you could start and tell our listeners a bit about yourself and how your early projects helped shape the kind of work you do today as a principal at Coffman Engineers.
Absolutely. So I am an electrical that does telecom design, which is what that RCDD is about. And I've been doing this for about 20 years. And I would say that I was very fortunate for my first experience, or first company that I worked for in the industry, to be very heavily involved in federal and higher ed projects. So I got into very complicated projects in the beginning of my career, which has helped shape me as the engineer and project manager I am today.
Great. As we talk about your experience, can you tell us a little bit about what you think about the built environment and how you would describe its importance, and maybe what role do project managers play in shaping it through the projects they lead?
Absolutely. So when I think of built environment, it's like everything that civilization needs when we talk about roads and vertical buildings, all these things. And then even underground, when we talk about sewer and getting electricity to different buildings. So it's really the foundation of how we live, maybe the thinking of how to put those things together. But project managers really put the pieces together of the puzzle to make sure it all fits in the end. And that's really an important role, is just making sure that everybody is working together to complete that project that the world really needs at the end for this environment or for our civilization to be successful.
We appreciate that.
Strong leadership drives strong projects. Become an AEC PM professional and give your team the leadership skills they need to thrive. Customized PM development, premium content, and a leadership edge that sets you apart. Learn more at aecpm.com.
And so as we think through that, there's obviously a lot of paths, a lot of different options when you think about built environment. And our industry touches almost every part of daily life, as you mentioned. And so many people might not realize how many parts of life it touches. What do you think project managers and firms can do to make engineering more engaging and help students or just even early career professionals discover those opportunities earlier in their journey to really, boost potential?
Yeah, I will say it has been a challenge really building these types of engineers. A lot of times, colleges and universities don't focus on the type of consulting engineering that we do. And so personally, what I like to do is to just go into schools. If I can go into a K through 12 and just sit in a room with students and just have them look around and say, hey, like, the way you get your air conditioning is from mechanical engineers, and the way that this building, the structure is actually sitting up is through structural engineers, and your lighting and your outlets and your Wi-Fi, which is very important, comes from electrical and telecom engineers, and fire protection engineers help determine where your sprinklers go. And when they can see it, they see it every day, but they may not know the people who actually put it together. And I always kind of tell the story that if it weren't for architects, engineers would just have plain brown boxes that look like rectangles, because that makes us happy. But in order to have all these cool, I've been to schools where they have like clouds, hanging from the sky. If it weren't for architects and in interior designers, it wouldn't be a pleasant place to go. So I think just seeing all of that, the things that they can see, helps kind of bridge that gap of it's not just math. It's not just all these formulas that you have to remember and all these big books that you might have to read through. You actually get to start from that point of a blank sheet of paper, a calculation, and then you can actually walk through the thing that you built, and you can turn it on and turn it off and all those things. And I think when you talk to children, especially, like, they're like, oh wow, like I didn't realize that, because all these things always function well, right, until something goes wrong, and then the engineers get blamed. But that's a whole nother conversation.
I love that
But
you're starting so early in the pipeline and just getting kids enthusiastic about it. I feel like that is often missed in when we look at like pipelines to different careers. There's getting the kids essentially their buy-in early in their life, right? Like, look, this is cool and you could be part of it. I feel like that is so critical. I love that you're doing that. Thanks for doing that work. And I highly encourage anyone else out there. That sounds like a great way to like help the industries to, go into schools and show how cool the job is, because somebody's going to be influenced by it early and step right onto that path.
yep,
That's amazing.
absolutely.
So on that note, you've led projects. So, talking about, I think you you went into the electrical and power systems with the kids. And around that, you've obviously been involved in both power and low voltage systems. And so from a project management standpoint, what coordination challenges tend to arise and how do teams address them effectively?
So I think being an electrical engineer has been to an advantage of being a project manager, because, and I think I can speak confidently for all electrical engineers out there, that we're always last.
Oh no.
Well,
But not least.
yes. We always try to remind everybody that if our systems don't work, everyone will be upset. But oftentimes we have to wait for everyone else to complete what they need to do. And that comes from civil, structural, architecture, mechanical. Those things need to be firmed out, understood, and then we come in and determine how big our rooms need to be and where our equipment needs to go. And because of that, we have the advantage of sitting back and watching everyone else do what they need to do. And as a project manager, that helps because we know now what everyone needs to do and how we can help ourselves, our own electricals, to make sure that we provide the correct deadlines, what we call pencils down, where we can't really design, we can't move walls anymore. We need to allow these other disciplines to finish what they need to do so that we can have a strong project to go out that is cohesive. And so it really helps us to see the full picture. And sometimes when maybe you're part of the first, when you're included in the first part of the project, but you don't see all of the end of it, it's hard to manage that because you're not seeing the full picture. So when it comes to managing projects, it's really about understanding what everyone needs, making sure that you really, I'm all about lists. You can tell, people know I send teams tasks out and all these emails. I just like to have a piece of paper that says this needs to be done, this needs to be done, and getting that buy-in from everyone, what they need, talking to all the folks together, going through that process and making sure that we can do it on time, because that's always the challenge. It's time and money, right? So we want to make sure we can do it on time and we can do it within budget. And when things slip, because they do, a client might say, hey, 2 weeks before the project's due, I don't like this. I want a fourth floor now. I don't want to stop at the third. I want a fourth floor. Make it happen. And we're like, okay, let's calm down. Let's talk about how we can do this if we can. And of course, the word scope creep comes in, and then we have all these other things that we just need to understand. But I think the communication is important. You might find a client specifically talking to one of the disciplines on the project and not bringing everyone to the table, and not understanding that if you change the HVAC system, it affects electrical, not understanding that if you want to have plumbing in this area, it could affect all these other disciplines. And so just making sure that communication as a PM is going through everyone, but also checking in with each discipline to make sure that they're not getting communication that hasn't gone through the whole team. So we're not holding, I shouldn't say not holding, but so we're not at the end of the projects missing things, missing coordination because we thought you knew about this,
We assumed.
Yeah.
Oh no.
So, and it just happens when things go fast. Sometimes it just happens. And so we have to adjust, and we have to just always have our mind open. And you never want to think negatively, but you always have to assume that you don't know everything. So let's just get together and talk about everything that we know and make sure we're all on the same page.
You hit some really, I think, important parts in there. The one is, as a project manager, like, you have your skill set, but you need to have at least a medium understanding of everyone else's jobs so that you know what's reasonable, what needs to come next. Like when you're asking someone, like you said, the wall needs to stop moving. And so you have your technical expertise that got you to where you are, but you need to have, I think we in college always said a 200 or 300 level course understanding of everyone else's jobs, right? Yeah. So that you can properly manage them and not ask for the impossible. And I also love that you brought up communication. I was joking with someone recently and I was like, however much you're communicating, I guarantee you could triple it and nobody would be like, they're bothering me. Whatever. You'd be more over communicate, share all the plans, because somebody ideally, and obviously you want to do it effectively and efficiently so that people don't start ignoring you, but you also there's a balance there of if they all know these things in a digestible way, they're going to flag when you're like, hey, that's going to ruin what we're doing over here. That communication is so vital, and it's so easy to get in your own lane and just go.
Exactly.
I love all of that. Well, when we're talking about balancing the technical, which I kind of alluded to a little, you're known for it, balancing your technical excellence and people development. How do you manage mentoring and supporting younger team members while keeping track of these projects?
Oh, well, it's not easy. I will tell you that. I think most of us know that there's just a shortage of engineers. And so we are in a spot where we have to train up younger engineers faster. And still, as more senior engineers and PMs, we still have to manage these projects to make sure we get good products out to our clients. I try to have people shadow me as much as possible. I found that to be easy instead of just telling you what to do. Just watch what I do, be on these calls. I was kind of joking with one of our interns recently that we had a different intern, and the first week I had him sit on a call with me. It was a contentious conversation with a client, and I wanted him to get that experience because it's not always great. And we have to know how to have these tough conversations. And so just trying to expose as much as possible. I think sometimes we have, or I would say even in my past, maybe held back a little bit because I didn't have as much experience. So you don't need to be part of these conversations. You don't need to go to these places yet because you're not experienced enough. I say, like, come with me and see it, because honestly, what difference does it make if you see it as a young engineer or after 3 years? You still need to have the experience, but as a younger engineer, you can ask more questions and you can kind of use that as a springboard to your next step. So I think just shadowing is a good thing. I think exposing engineers to the good and the bad is a good thing. Having them listening to you speaking to clients. I'm going to go off on a tangent a little bit about communication again, because I do tell people that I speak multiple languages, and I really don't. I speak construction language, I speak engineer language, I speak architecture language, and I speak
Those are
owner language.
multiple languages. You do indeed speak multiple languages.
But you have to have that. I know they see me and I can speak to a mechanical engineer and we can talk about BTUs and all that stuff. But when I'm talking to an architect about Cat6 cable running through the building, it's a different conversation. It's just cable to them. They don't care about, the details of all those things. So it's just making sure that we're not engineering talking all the time. We need to speak to people where they are so that we can get results instead of like just confusing them. Because sometimes I hear contractors and they use some acronyms and I'm like, what are you talking about? Just show it
Pause,
to me.
please. I need my dictionary.
So yeah, it really just helping these engineers. And I honestly also believe that they should get a little bit of everything. As electrical, we can do a lot of different things. We do medium voltage, we do low voltage, the telecom, security stuff. I also do that. So I show them everything. I don't want to put them into one lane. I want them to get a good glimpse of everything so that they can decide, like, I think maybe I want to do this more, or I want to focus on this. If we never give them those opportunities, we might be missing out, honestly, on some talent that could help us in other ways.
So as they're listening and absorbing and watching you do all these things, if we're setting them up to grow and learn and we want to grow them into one day leadership, what skills or habits do you think they should start developing in that early time period? Like, what's going to help them most along that path?
I like journaling. I think it's important to make notes about the things that you have accomplished, the places that you've gone, the things that you've seen. I didn't realize how important that was going to be in my life. Just, we may have resumes that our corporate HR folks may create, but add some additional notes to it. Add some things that were challenges or went well. Like, talk about your successes as you go through each project. So when you look back 10 years later and you talk to a client and you say, yeah, I've worked on that kind of project before, you can remember. And I remember that this was a challenge for us, and maybe we should talk about that now so we don't run into that later. It's just all those things that you can really put down on paper. And I say paper, and I know these young engineers, they have Chat GPT and they can speak into. I like paper, so I have my journals and I just do that. But somehow just keep track of all the things that you've done. It is your personal resume. I think that's important. And I always say, like, I want you to stay at our company forever if you can. But no matter where you go, those experiences belong to you. So take those with you wherever you go so it can help you grow. Those are your foundation for your career. So
I love that. A tangible tip. Take that one. Start journaling.
yes.
Notes app, voice
Yeah,
something. Just get
something.
it down, written down somewhere in some form so you can reference it later. I think that's always important. As a project manager, I fully concur. Write it down or it didn't happen.
Yes, absolutely.
So we've talked a lot about getting people in to, the industry and careers, and on the other end, what does succession planning look like? A lot of firms, it gets overlooked. We're busy. Who can think about when Jerry leaves? Nobody. We don't have time for it.
Right.
So what have you seen that works well to ensure knowledge and leadership, like the transition of leadership, to help it go smoothly from one generation to the next?
Well, I don't know if it'll ever go smoothly. That's one thing I'm not sure about.
Fair enough.
I think it will happen whether you are going to do it or not. And I think the most important thing is to be ready for it. We can't control what people say. That's the one thing that I keep thinking about in my head. If the people that I have here leave, it's not great, but we still have great engineers. They'll go somewhere and be great engineers, but we want to make sure we can keep them where they are and show them all the things that they can be here in the company. And I think that's what's important, is to just show the trajectory, show them the plan. Let's put a plan together. I realized that, and I'll be honest with you, I never thought I was going to be a project manager. I thought I was going to be completely technical. I wasn't thinking about being a principal or any of that stuff. I just want to be an engineer. So as I progressed and met new people and got mentors in different parts of my life, I realized that, hey, there's other ways to be an engineer and to be a mentor and to be successful in this industry. And I think that exposure helps kind of, make your path. So showing that table or tree or whatever diagram that your company may or may not have, just creating that and saying, hey, you're here. This is where you could be. And you can split. Maybe you want to be more a project manager. Maybe you want to be the technical engineer that sits in the corner of the office who just grinds on drawings. That's all you want to do. Absolutely fine. But let's find out what you want to do, and let's focus in on that. And eventually succession, in my opinion, will grow out of that, because you will see the people who will just shine, who you can say, okay, they want to be this person. So then you can start bringing them in, and then you'll find the people who don't want to be. And so you won't waste your energy or use your energy on that, but helping them get that skill set where they do want to be that other type of person in the industry, and just helping everyone be successful. But I can tell you, like, I don't know. Succession is one of those things where I have still a lot of time here, working before I retire, but I'm thinking about it now because I want to make sure that, one, it's almost like leaving an inheritance. I want to make sure what I leave, as far as clients and how the company is structured and how our culture is maintained for this next generation. And I want to make sure that's ingrained in whoever takes over. And so making sure those things are set and true, like not just on a piece of paper, but we're actually walking through that every day. I think that helps just prepare the next group, and knowing that this is what we do here. This is what this office has, done. This is what this company has done. And let's try to maintain that or make it better. But picking a name out of the hat is tricky.
I don't think that's it. I think you actually, throughout this whole conversation, have kind of alluded to, if you expose them to everything up front, right? Take them everywhere, expose them to everything. And if you're the new person, like, if someone says you don't have to come, but you can if you want to,
Yeah.
go, because you're
Yes.
going to get all these experiences. You're going to be able to pick and choose, like, oh, I liked that. Oh, I did not like that. And then if you're lucky, you're in a place where you're like, hey, I'm good at this. I like it. I'd like to do more of it.
Yeah.
That can grow your career in a way that eventually maybe benefits your firm, in that, like, this person's leaving, but we have these two people that kind of do these two complementing tasks or items, or that we can, like, reposition some things, if you, like, one way or another. But I guess my overarching point is if you expose yourself to everything and you take it all in, then you can pick your niche and you can, grow your career that way. And ideally it's where you are now. If it's not, at least you found, you've taken what you can from that experience and you take it to the next one. Yeah. I think it's really just that exposure early on is a key point that I want to bring back. Even, in the middle of your career, expose yourself to everything.
Yes.
All right, so that brings us to our final question, which we call the PM pitfalls question. So, what do you think is the biggest PM pitfall you've identified, and how would you recommend overcoming it or avoiding it for PMs out there listening?
This is a great question. I actually recently dealt with a client that specifically asked for a PM that was not involved in the design. And I never really heard that as a specific requirement. And I thought about it, and it really makes sense in a lot of cases that the PM is not also designing. There's a bias, right? Like, as an electrical, I am going to drift over to the electrical drawings and make
It
sure
feels good there.
yeah, it's my happy place.
Mm-hmm.
And just, like, make sure, like, things look okay and all that, and sometimes there's really no choice because you don't have enough staff to have an army of electricals and a PM, but if it's possible, try to separate yourself from the engineering and let the engineers do their job and trust. I think that's the biggest thing is sometimes we just don't trust each other. We're so used to having so much control, and we really need to allow people to shine. And sometimes they won't shine, and they need to feel that too. So we need to give them an opportunity to go through that process and not have our fingers in everything and focus more on that communication, the cohesion, allowing our engineers to thrive, our designers to thrive, and making sure the client gets what they want. And also being the buffer for the client, between the client and the engineers, to be the protector of our teams, to make sure that, they're not feeling the pressure. We need to take that pressure, turn it into something else, energy or direction or whatever it needs to be, so that they can be successful and focus on what they need to do. And we need to keep that relationship with the client going, because that's our job, to make sure we keep that relationship, that communication open with the client. We stay on schedule and we stay on budget. So if we can somehow separate ourselves from where we want to be as far as on the design side, then I think that's where we'll find more success as PMs.
That's fantastic. It's so easy to fall back into our old technical skills, and sometimes we got to let go.
Yeah. It's hard.
I think it's, what you hit on in there too is, those are all excellent leadership skills, right? Like stepping back, letting people try. And as a PM, you're in this tricky position sometimes where you're not actually someone's like boss per se, but it is on you if the project doesn't happen. So there's this delicate balance with leadership that also, like, you have to let people grow and they have to learn. And at the end of the day, it's you on the line. So there's such a good balance there. But I think that the more we can let people learn and sometimes fail, the better long term.
Absolutely.
Well, thank you so much for joining us today. This has been a lovely conversation. Is there anything else you want to say to anyone before we head out?
Go AEC people community. Now, I'm just
I'll second that.
We're just honestly, everyone I've met in this industry has been great. And I'm just very happy and fortunate that I've been able to kind of stumble into it. That's how I got in. And the more we can talk about what we do and bring that excitement to other, younger engineers or people who may not even know they want to be engineers yet, or contractors or architects. Let's just try to celebrate what we do and bring them all in so we can keep being successful here.
Wonderful. Well, thank you again so much for joining us.
Thank you.
Please remember, you can find the show notes for this episode at aecpmpodcast.com. There you'll find a summary of the key points discussed in today's episode, as well as links to any of the resources, websites, or books mentioned during this episode. Until next time, I wish you all the best in your engineering project management endeavors.